everybody.
Morning. Morning.
TGIF. It's Friday again. Okay. So we are going to, right now, upon a request I've just had, to go over the remaining subregions quickly so that we can better understand them. So just briefly, we've already done the region of Mexico. We've done the region of the 7 Central Republics. And now I'm going to go over the Greater Antilles, which is located here. And that consists of 4 islands that has 5 states in these 4 islands. These are the Greater. And then the last subregion is the Lesser Antilles. And the Lesser Antilles contains island chains. Many very small islands, just thousands and thousands of tiny islands in the Lesser Antilles. So in actuality, there are 4 major subregions: Mexico, 7 Central Republics, Greater Antilles, and Lesser Antilles. Now where a little confusion has come in is that last subregion, called the Lesser Antilles, may be broken into smaller island chains. Okay, so actually there's 4 main subregions. But you could break the Lesser into Windward Islands and Leeward Islands, if you wished. And that would be one way to divide them up. But don't forget, the Bahamas are up here too. And they lie outside this Caribbean basin. So in some cases, they're included with the United States region, realm, and in some cases, they're included in the Caribbean. Geographers have put the Bahamas in different places at different times. We'll just include them. So don't forget they're there. Also note Trinidad and Tobago down here. This is one island state, Trinidad and Tobago. So let's go ahead and take the Greater Antilles one by one. And let's start with Cuba, or Cuba. Now, we well know that Spain did occupy Cuba and colonize it at one point because Cubans speak Spanish, and then became independent at the end of the Spanish-American War. Now we know that Cuba also was affiliated with the Soviets, who did point missiles at the United States at one point, and the U.S. was not overly fond of communism and of having Russian missiles there, or Russians there. And so there's been a tense relationship between Cuba and the United States. But currently, President Obama is favoring lessening the tensions and increasing maybe trade, perhaps, and allowing Cubans to come and go from the United States and people from the U.S. to come and go from Cuba. Also remittances, which weren't allowed. That remittances are money earned overseas to be returned to the location, are now allowed. So things are lightening up between the United States and Cuba at this point. Let's move next to Hispaniola. Now the island of Hispaniola does have 2 countries. On the eastern side, we have
Dominican Republic.
Yes, Dominican Republic, and on the western side we have Haiti. Now, Haiti and Dominican Republic were treated very different during colonial times. And we spent a lot of time talking about the hacienda system of the Spanish and the plantation system that many Europeans came in, and also the United States has used quite extensively in the Caribbean. Now, traditionally, the plantation system involves wiping out the local flora and fauna so that plantations can grow one crop, usually bananas, sugarcane, pineapples. And once that vegetation is just wiped out, also the local people were pretty wiped out too at the same time. people very tied to their lands, either killed in skirmishes and warfare or disease or just left of their own accord or died. So pretty much there was no people to work the plantations, and at the time, unfortunately, slavery was becoming very prevalent, and so slaves were indeed brought in, mostly from Western Africa. So there's many, many displaced Africans. Haiti is mostly African, and Hispaniola is mostly Spanish mestizo with indigenous mix of people. And so if you look at a map, from space you can see this, and you look at Hispaniola, it is dramatic to see that you can tell which side had been treated with plantation agriculture and which side had been left alone in the hacienda system, which is basically plots of land first owned by colonial Spanish families and then owned just by local families once the colonial era had ended there. And you see that it's just denuded of vegetation, and there's a lot of just mud washing and erosion and failure for the vegetation to grow back, and lots of chemicals, and very difficult for it to rebound on the side of Haiti, whereas on the side of Dominican Republic, it's nice and green and leafy and treed. And you know, when a typhoon, we call them typhoons, but when a hurricane blows through there, which side do you think is going to survive very easily or much easier than the other side?
Dominican.
The Dominican Republic will withstand those things. And also remember, there are also earthquakes in this area, and there has been terrible hurricane damage, flooding, tsunamis, earthquakes, just one after another for Haiti. So, and not only that, when there's people brought in, such as there was with Africans brought in there, once the colonial era ends, there's a power vacuum. And so now, the leaders that come in, it's difficult to get a leader in there that will have the people's best interests in mind. It's been very, very difficult in Haiti, whereas a lot of the leaders that have come in have been very, very, very wealthy, and there's just rampant poverty in Haiti. The Haitians suffer from just deep, deep, terrible poverty, as well as all those environmental misfortunes. So there's also disease too, because whenever you have a very, very low standard of living, doctors, it's hard to find doctors, there's not very many, there's not infrastructure. And after a lot of these catastrophes, a lot of Haitians were living pretty much in the center, in the median of highways, and still do, because they had nowhere to go. And so these are just homes made of cardboard or wood or whatever they can find. And of course, there's no amenities, there's no water, no sewage systems, no food. So it's very disastrous. And as you can see, they have terrible, terrible issues to surmount, challenges to overcome. And yet, there's all kinds of stories of hope there too. So this is Haiti and Dominican Republic.